Hello ninjas, this is Big Benedict. Here's Ninja Gaiden 2, new game, Master Ninja. No need to play on New Game Plus because we're warriors. And we have a very easy skirmish here against these IS ninjas. And, well, it's not easy, I make it look easy here, but this was several attempts that I took, and I've wanted to do this for a while. This is going to be called the Advanced Tactics Guide for Ninja Gaiden 2. And that little battle right there where I didn't take any damage, that finally decided it. Because normally you end up dying there or not performing too well. Anyway, though, so here we have 4 archers. If you want to fall back, you can just stand there and parry their attacks or do OTs. But right off the bat, though, with those IS ninjas, you need to do iframes moves. You want to do the guillotine throw, which you saw me doing very heavily. You want to go in after that for the OT, the obliteration technique. Also, the reverse wind is an iframes move too, as is the Azuna body drop slam. Everything leading up to the body slam, that's not iframes, but when you're body slamming the foe into the ground, that's iframes. So anyway, so Advanced Tactics for Ninja Gaiden 2. This will be my 3rd time I've done a guide for this game, and I know that makes me crazy, but there's no other games to play there's nothing. I hate everything. So this game is the best, and it'll be in preparation for Lords of Shadow 2, which is coming out at the end of February. Anyone who's looking for the final video, my Vanquish guide, I can't beat the boss yet. I've tried probably 300 times to beat it. I'm not kidding. When I actually do beat it, I'll put up the score sheet. And it'll show you how many times I fucking died on that on those 2 bogeys. It'll say 500 plus, I guarantee you. But I will beat it. I play until I die, or I try until I die, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, what is Advanced Tactics? Advanced Tactics was a very popular guide when I did Sigma 2 Advanced Tactics in the middle of last summer. A lot of people complimented the guide, and it was really great because I was showing you tactics that you wouldn't see in other guides for beginners and things like that. And even on Master Ninja, you'll see a lot of other really good techniques. For instance, I'm not going to be spamming ultimate techniques. That's only a novice would do that. Sometimes I'll use. I mean, there will be times when I'm chaining UTs for money or to expedite kills. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. It's just that you need to counter. You need to be, focusing on those parries big time, and you need to also be shuriken canceling. Make sure you are doing that. XXY is a guaranteed DLM move. That move right there is when you are just holding the Y button long enough so that he does the slash across the screen, but not too long for when he goes in for his ultimate technique. Anyway, so we don't have too many moves right here. The sword's only at level 1. We can't do the Azuna drop yet. And here's the thing. What started me thinking about doing an Advanced Tactics guide for this game. And again, it sounds a little pretentious, I know, but I love this game, and I want to share it as much as I can with everybody, all the tactics that I know. First of all, though, when you come up here, you're going to be assaulted with mages, 2 mages, but you wouldn't know it because you don't look at them, and then that won't have them aggro. So they're based on, if you look at them, then they're going to be aggressive. If you don't look at them, they're not even going to be around until they'll eventually come over to you. But see how I killed those 3 foes right there before I even tackled this first guy, because they were just in the background. I heard them teleporting, and then I decided to just make this guy eat some fire right here. But I was looking at some of the Test of Valor, because the second Ninja Gaiden 2 guide that I did, you couldn't get any more complete than that, because I did all the Tests of Valor. But the thing was, both in the last guide and Guide 1, I was grinding for money like a son of a bitch. So I'm not going to be grinding for money. I'll point it out where you can do it in this chapter. There's a very good spot where the enemies will never stop spawning. And they're easy enemies too. They're these guys. and I was looking at one of my Test of Valor, and I had like 350,000 essence. So what I've always wanted to do is just do a clean run of the game, and by a clean run, what I just mean is that no pinpointing locations of essence farming and trying to get all the money I can. That's just tacky for me nowadays, so I don't want to do that. And the second reason I'm doing this guide is versus Elizabeth. I need to do a clean fight on her. I did do a clean fight on her in my advanced tactics guide. It was the proudest accomplishment I've ever done for Sigma 2. To actually beat her without hiding behind Genshin's body. So we're going to be getting rid of all that kind of stuff in this guide, doing things the hard way, and having fun, because this is a fun and much easier game than Sigma 2. Now, when I say that, people will say you're wrong, and you can't say to somebody that because it's subjective. It's my own opinion, but just because there's more enemies on the screen, it doesn't mean it's harder. Just that fact. There's more enemies, but they don't take as much damage off you as Sigma 2. Anyway, so what I like to do over here, though, is come down here and okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get to the boss without using any of the items. I am going to be using my Nimpo, but I'm not going to be using any of the mushrooms or the grains that I pick up, or the elixirs of spiritual life. I think that's what they're called. It's been a while since I played this game, but I love it so much. It's the finest game ever made, easily. So what I've done was I did backtrack. There's a couple edits where I stopped and then went back and saved it, and then I got the boxes of just make sure you save. I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do it, because if I have to tell you exactly what to do every single time, you don't need this guide. You need my guide number 1 or guide number 2, where I will hold your hand a little bit more. And no offense to anybody, because I'm not the best. Rhyme's the best at this game, and we can only seek to get as good as he was, because nobody gets good in Ninja Gaiden 2 unless it's through Rhyme, in my opinion. If you don't know who that is, shame on you. You should know who that is by now. This is the third time we're going through this game. I've mentioned him a lot of times, and I don't mean to lecture anybody, but that's the godfather of Ninja Gaiden 2, Rhyme. Wherever he is, God bless his soul. So this guy is the last guy. I like fighting the IS ninjas. It's just those grabs, they'll grab you right through your guard, so just watch out for that. But yeah, this is going to be a great guide. I'm excited to do this, and in the meantime, I'm going to be hopefully bringing you the end of Vanquish when I beat it, not if, when. It just takes a while. It could be a year down the road, but it'll still come at some point. But anyway, here we go. Hit the save point right here. Okay, then, and as you do your flying bird flip up here, the one thing I usually encounter, you see how right when I landed and I had a guard, and I think I did a parry there. They really like to attack you right when you land, and you can't jump down the chute. They won't follow you down there. So what I'm envisioning this guide to be is, a helpful product to people so that they can beat Master Ninja mode. But with that said, I've already done 2 other guides for this game, so what I was thinking, it's more a personal kind of vendetta against this game for me, because when I think about it, I haven't beat the game legitimately ever, so this, in many ways, is my first true campaign through this game without farming for essence. I don't know why I would do that either. Always do UTs on these guys to get 1,400 essence. It's really good. That's like 2 other kills with UTs for those lesser enemies. But that right there is 1,400. The part where you can grind for money is over here. The reason I grind it, let me see. Did I discuss that yet? I'm not sure. The reason I grinded for money in campaign 1 was out of fear. The reason I grinded for money in campaign 2 was out of part fear, but it was more of just to make sure that I had enough money so that I could go through all the Tests of Valor. And a lot of the times I didn't save my progress after I cleared the Test of Valor, because it would consume way too many resources that I would later need on some of the final boss fights. And so on this run, I'm not scared because I've already played this game several times, and it's not hard. It really isn't a hard game. So when you come up here, you can either go back and save it, or you can spawn these guys. Just run up here, jump down, and do your charge. Just watch out, though. You will get your charge broken by... No. Are there... I think there are IS ninjas over here. So... early, this early in the game, I don't have the Azuna drop. I am going to get the Lunar up to level 2 when I go to the store for the first time. But it's more of, these advanced tactics, they're really not going to kick in until we can start actually getting some weapons, getting some power-ups and things like that. There was the XXY move right there. So early on in this game, and it's going to have to carry you through a lot of the game. You have to do the guillotine throw, because if you're stuck with an IS, the shurikens that explode from those IS guys, if you guillotine throw and connect with an enemy and then fling him into the wall, if you do it quickly enough, then you won't take any damage. Likewise, if you're stuck with those shurikens and you do the evade analog plus the left trigger. But first I need to talk about this. This right here is the point at which the enemies will never stop spawning. What happens is there's going to be two guys running up here, and if you notice, I'm hugging this corner right here, because if I go too far back, like towards the screen right now, these enemies never stop. These two enemies, they'll keep coming forever. And I spent like 10 hours here a couple times on my campaigns, and that just goes to show you the caution you have to take sometimes on a game like this. But there are two archers up there. I usually like to throw the Inferno at those guys because they're just too problematic, and they can be unspawned if you want to do that. Normally I don't hit both of them. That was a lucky one. Now this is what I don't agree with. There was dragging essence, the principle of dragging essence. I will expound on that later. It's pretty simple. You just... well, first of all, do you see how I tried to tag the guy in the middle with that flame? That was because sometimes they group together so compactly that if you get the guy in the middle, then he will set afire the two guys that are on either side of him. It usually doesn't work, but sometimes you can get it to. You don't want to fall in the pit, that's the thing. Like, you don't want to be swinging on the pole and get shot with an arrow, because then you'll drop into the pit and there are IS ninjas down there whom you don't want to face until you've saved your data. But this is not fair. They should have given you the bow, or just not place those guys there. So it just pretty much comes down to luck if you can get past it quickly enough. So there we go. We're going to save our progress up here. We got our health back. Now we're going to jump down here. And sometimes you'll get immediately assaulted by that guy right there. I think he was waiting for me. But there's a certain majesty and an art to doing the guillotine throw in situations like this, because it's so easy to get juggled by all these ISs. See? And I would not do the launcher parry, the Y parry. It's just too risky because you're up in the air, and that's when you really start to get juggled. So if you can just always know in which direction the enemy's coming from, because the guillotine throw, I know it doesn't seem like it's a true thing, but you go through the enemy. I'm sure it's kind of like, if he's coming at like 6 o'clock on the, if you're looking at it like a clock, which you should be, if he's coming at a certain direction, just go in his direction with the guillotine throw, and then that will usually connect, and then you just need to fling them into the wall. Follow that up with an OT. and that will save you from all the other ISs that are coming after you. So did you see how I did get damaged a lot on those IS ninjas, and then what happened was I got that chest to mitigate the damage. There is a chest over there to the right, but I'm just going to come back at my own leisure and make sure that I get it when it doesn't have the bats, because the bats really screw you up. This section here is pretty simple, but there are a lot of enemies, and if you just want to focus on the two problem enemies at first, the IS ninjas and the gray ninjas, you want to stay over here and not look at the mages. The only thing is that sometimes, and actually very frequently actually, when you're doing an obliteration technique, let's see if it ever happens. You see how it goes into that animation there? Sometimes that animation, its camera position, trains on one of the mages, and it's not even your fault, it's just the animation that he does, because there's several animations. So if that actually counts towards quote unquote looking at a mage if you are in the animation. And then what you need to do then is correct the camera by centering it, or just manually moving the camera around. But the way the mages work, after all the other enemies are dead, then they will come to you. That's how they're programmed. But this is a somewhat, yeah. I just love when the enemies like to hold hands with you like that. It's one of those things you can't do anything about it once they grab you. But I usually try to go for a UT on those mages, because I just cannot pass up 1400 in essence. So in these first two chapters, you're really going to be struggling, and you're not going to have much unless you want to grind for money, and that's your own prerogative. And the strange thing always on my guides for these games is that I get a ton of views for the first video, and the rest don't get that many views. And I know the reason. It's because people can't beat the first level. And I'm not dissing anybody or anything, but I know that is the reason. They're coming for help, and the first video is the only video they need help with, because they probably just give up. And that's too bad. But I'm telling you, you can get really good at this game. So there is the Lunar. I'm going to upgrade this to level 2 at the shop. But we won't, see how much money I have? 18,000. Not quite enough to get an upgrade. The upgrades cost 20,000. There are some Nimpo essences. Save point. And the battle on the bridge is difficult, namely because there are no solid surfaces into which you can throw enemies and delimb them. But fortunately, on the bridge there are no IS ninjas. You just have the mages and these guys here. So the best thing to do actually would be to go to one side and just not look at the mages, because I guess they cannot be tolerated. They can't suffer to be looked at. Anyway, so we will be getting, a while ago I was saying that the hardships are really in the first 2 levels, and then in Chapter 3 we'll be getting a lot of money. That's what I like to think of as the money-making stage. We'll get a lot of money there. I'm not going to be doing the Test of Valor because I've already done those, but I am gonna do the Rod of Trials fight, because there are a couple Tests of Valor that I'm going to be doing off camera, just because they're very lucrative with the essence and they're very easy to pass. And my favorite Test of Valor is actually the first one on Chapter 3. So actually, I might incorporate that. I'm not sure, because it's one of those that it looks like it's so overcoming, and like you could probably never beat it. But if you know the strategy that we've all developed, not me, but all the other people, it gets to be very formulaic, and you could do it pretty simply. So over here, what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of these guys here because their shurikens don't break your guard, and we can just do charges and get our 700, I believe. Or it might be 450. What I've done, I've turned the sensitivity up all the way for everything because this is a very fast-paced game and I need to be able to rotate the camera as quickly as I can. And they really don't give you too many items over here. We are going to get a Grains of Spiritual Life, but they only give you 3 items on this entire stage, one of each item. The grains, the mushroom, and the lower healing item. Now this fight here is much easier than it is on Sigma 2 because there are no mages, there's just these guys here. And a lot of my tactics are early on is going to be the guillotine throw, you know, and parrying and sundering limbs, because if you're in a group of enemies and you parry, you can oftentimes delim more than one enemy, and then it's your task to do obliteration techniques or stand away and do charges if it's safe. So there's another parry, didn't connect, did not sunder limbs. What I'm trying to do is, I'm really missing that Azuna drop, and just really watch out for those guys. They're extremely deadly. Not as deadly on this game as in Sigma 2. Now this here, I think you have to open the chest first if you want the enemies, and I forgot which order you had to do it in, so I hit the blinds and then got the chest, and then the enemies didn't spawn. I wanted the enemies for the money. But before the store we have 2 IS ninjas. They're going to spawn once you get onto the porch, so you probably want to head back in here and just throw them right into the walls. And just remember, you're never going to get Nimpo Essence or Health Essence by doing obliteration techniques. You only get a very small amount of money. I think it's 70. And here's the shop over here, and I believe I've kept in my shopping just so you can see. You know, not that I'm trying to prove that I don't have a lot of money, but just, you know, that's all I can afford right now. The one upgrade here. And the main reason I do that is simply for the 360 UT. It's so helpful and so fun to use. But that does come at the cost of not being able to do the Azuna drop with the Dragon Sword at this point in time, since the Azuna drop is linked to the level 2 strength of all weapons. Okay, so you're going to have 2 archers over here. Yep, that's an archer. These are chargers. What I'm trying to do is not do the OT because I need some health. So the second one's going to come down when you finished off the first one. There we go. He's dead. And then you'll get fish or you'll get money down here. Whenever you get that right there, that's 1,000. If you get fish, what you want to do is wait until they all stop moving and then hold down on the Y button to do your charge, and then you'll get anywhere from 3,000 to 7,000 in essence, which is a lot more than just getting the money. This fight down here, what I'm going to do, because I'm trying to conserve all my items, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back here to the solid wall and fling the enemies. I don't think there are IS ninjas here, but I could be wrong. So right there's 1,400. That is a lot of money for a very weak enemy, but a dangerous one, albeit. And I'm probably going to get people complaining about the suit. I like this particular suit. I might switch it. I don't know. I don't care about the suit, but this is like the suit that represents what a ninja is to me, black garb. So right here I'm trying to lure that mage close enough to me so that I can do a UT on him. But the interesting thing about this though, is after this fight, it's going to be a very abrupt edit because I didn't keep in me walking all the way down the street and then the cutscene, which is obviously taken out because we don't need it. This is a guide. They're going to fill your health up, but you don't get a checkpoint. That's the thing you need to worry about. They fill your health up, but they don't give you any Nimpo. So now in this room here, it's standard throwing guys into the wall. We're going to be doing this all the way up until the boss, just throwing guys into the wall. I know it's not very versatile, but it does require skill. There's a parry right there. Okay. So he is dead. We're going to go to the save point. Now I'm going to switch to my lunar, interact with the door, fall back, do an on-landing 360 charge, and then just look at this. Mashes everybody to pulp here. And as you know, if you tap on the Y button, he'll go into the Izuna drop. Sometimes. It's random, though. You get a lot of lag here, though. That's the unfortunate thing. And I remember this UT being unintentional because I just happened to drop and I held the Y button too long. But what I don't like to do when I need to do a lot of OTs, when a lot of guys are limbless and I need to OT them, I don't like to use the lunar because it's too twirly and it's too fast. It doesn't connect. There's a lot of fails with getting that to actually do that, you know. The cartwheel attack that those guys do, you've probably seen me parry in this game. It cannot be blocked, but you can parry it. I just love everything about this game. I don't love that. That is obviously very obnoxious, but I love. Look at all like the brain splatter on the wall. This is a true man's game. I still like Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, but you know, it's just like fantasized and it's just weird. They take the blood out of it. Anyway, there's also two attacks when you're going forward with the character. It's if you're moving the analog stick. Oh, this is a perfect spot. See how this is. You've got this glass window you can throw them into, and then you've got the two walls to the left and right. It's just absolutely perfect. And did you notice right there how in that animation the camera went away from the fight, and it could have looked at one of the mages in the background. So that's one of the things you've got to worry about as well. I don't know how I got so much height there. I think I was mid-juggle. I'll have to rewind that when I'm watching this later. Maybe there are no mages in this fight. It could be in this. Yeah, it's probably in the second fight. Yeah, oh, okay, there's a mage. But they weren't aggroed because I was facing away from where I believed that they were. So watch out for that. They'll do two attacks. They'll do two fire attacks. One, I don't know where the other one went. That move that they do, though, is you can parry that. It's just very hard to get that timing in sometimes. There's another 1400. And at this point, we're going to go down and get... If you believe it or not, this is only the third item they've given us. So what I did was, I didn't use any of the items that I picked up on the stage, but I did use one of the herbs at the store at the very last save. So all in all, I only used one item on this level, but I did buy some Devil Way mushrooms for the boss battle. So I think I used 3 items. But I was using so many things on my first run. I was even going so far as to use the lives of the 1,000 gods that we picked up, which is so unnecessary. It's not even It's not even it's just sad to think back that I was doing that crap. Now this fight here, you're gonna have, it's kind of annoying because you're gonna have gray ninjas and the IS ninjas, and you're also gonna have one archer at the very on the opposite side of this room, in the middle. He's not much of an issue, but you can get hit by his flaming arrows. Other than that, though, he will charge you when you've killed all these guys, so just bear that in mind. But when he's charging you, all you need to do is, if you're far enough away from him, at least, just prepare a UT and take him out and get your, I think it's 750. I'm so keen on the figures because I was really farming for essence a lot on these campaigns. But now, what I want to do, see how he comes now. I don't want a security blanket on this run. I don't want any favors, and I never want to feel like I'm too comfortable so that I don't have to worry, you know, like having too much essence. And that, it sounds masochistic, but it's the way the game is meant to be played, you know. I'm sure they didn't want people to farm for essence. This fight here usually takes me a lot of tries, but I don't think I've always been aware of how the mages aggro up until very recently. So, you know, just continually throw the guys into the walls. You know, literally cut through them with that guillotine throw, and then go for the OT. And this was a pretty good, you know, when I was doing this, I was thinking to myself, it either goes really well or it's very messy. Okay, so we've got the mages, we have this guy. What I need to do now is just avoid the mages, but I think their aggro is increasing because this guy is the final guy. So now they're going to actually start coming over to me, and I think I try to even go for a charge. Yeah, see how they immediately came to me because that was the last IS ninja right there. Then there's one more mage, and I'm going to try to do a charge and get my 1400. But if they grab you, it's all, with the amount of health I have, it wouldn't have killed me. On Sigma 2, you bet it would have killed you. It takes away all of your life. It's not fair. So anyway, this is the final battle. Make sure you go to the store and buy what you need. And this is going to be a very brief fight, but I'll tell you exactly what to do. If you want to, you can do the lunar 360 attack, which is not the charge, but you have iframes on it. What I like to do, though, is just have some Nimpo, because if you don't use it, it will detract from your score, but you might as well use it because they're going to fill you up in the next stage. But just do the 360 UT, and it's just devastating here. So what I'm looking for is 2 pieces of yellow essence or 1 blue essence, and then I could do a UT. And ET is not very damaging. I think the UT is going to end up killing this guy on the next try. See how much it takes away? It's just utterly devastating. So we're off to a really good start. I'm glad I'm doing this guide for the 3rd time. It'll be the final time. And, you know, stick with it. Don't give up.